Welcome to Restful Tales, your doorway to peaceful dreams. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to keep the stories alive. Sweet dreams await. Story number 1, Sarah's True Crime YouTube channel, was finally taking off after 3 years of grinding. Her latest video, an analysis of an unsolved disappearance from 1985, hit 2 million views in just 2 days. But it was the comments that caught her attention. Check the wall behind the victim's mother at 1347, one user wrote. Did anyone else see the figure in the window during the police interview? That necklace the detective is wearing. It belonged to the victim. Sarah reviewed her footage obsessively. She hadn't noticed these details during her weeks of editing. The figure in the window, the necklace, they weren't there when she first downloaded the archive footage. But now, undeniably, they were. New comments appeared faster than she could read them, each pointing out more details that seemed to materialize in her video. The timestamp mentions became more specific, more disturbing. 1822, the victim is standing behind the detective. 2415, you can see all 7 missing persons watching through the windows. 3101 Sarah, look behind you in your out row. Her heart stopped. She hadn't included an out row in this video. Frantically opening her video editor, she saw her footage had grown by 3 minutes. The new out row showed her current bedroom, filmed from her webcam, which was off, with a timestamp of 2 minutes in the future. Comments were still pouring in. Anyone else notice the video length keeps growing? It's learning from our views. Every time someone watches, they add themselves to the footage. Don't look at the reflection in your screen. Sarah's view count hit 3 million. Each new view added another presence to her footage. Another pair of eyes in the windows. Another shadow in the corners. Her video wasn't documenting an unsolved disappearance anymore. It was creating new ones. The final comment appeared from her own account, though she hadn't posted it. Next video coming soon. Everyone's invited to participate, whether they want to or not. Story number 2, Dr. Mei Wang stared at her computer screen in disbelief. As head of Instagram's new AI safety division, she'd been tasked with reviewing a peculiar pattern in the platform's filter analytics. Users had been reporting strange phenomena with the new nostalgia filter, a simple overlay that made photos look like they were taken decades ago. The filter worked by scanning faces and adjusting colors to mimic vintage photography. But users started noticing something odd in group photos. The filter occasionally added people who weren't there. At first, they assumed it was a glitch, until someone recognized one of the glitches as their deceased grandmother. May dug deeper into the code. The AI wasn't adding people, it was revealing them. The filter somehow captured moments across time, showing who had stood in that exact spot throughout history. But as more people used it, the AI began to show something else, future positions. Users reported seeing themselves in the background of their own photos, sometimes wearing different clothes, sometimes with horrified expressions. One viral post showed a teenager's selfie with 30 versions of herself in the background, each one progressively more decomposed. May discovered the truth too late. The filter wasn't just showing time, it was collapsing it. Each use created a temporal fold, crushing past, present, and future into a single moment. People who used the filter multiple times reported meeting other versions of themselves in real life, all competing for the same space in reality. The filter had to be stopped, but Instagram's servers crashed when they tried to disable it. The last message from the system read, "Filter processing complete. Reality merge initiating. Thank you for helping us collect all versions of humanity." May checked her phone one last time and found a notification. Your memories from future timelines are ready to view. In her office window's reflection, she saw herself from tomorrow, wearing the same clothes but covered in blood, mouthing 2 words, "Don't turn." Story number 3. The building manager handed Sarah the keys with an odd expression. 520's been empty for 6 months. Previous tenant left everything, just disappeared. You're getting a good deal because of the situation. The situation became clear on her first night. The apartment wasn't empty at all. Every item left behind still moved as if someone was using it. The shower would run at 7:15 a.m. sharp. The kitchen chair would scrape across the floor at 800 a.m. The TV would turn on at 8:30 p.m., always to static. Sarah documented everything. The coffee maker would brew a full pot each morning, but the coffee vanished without being poured. The bed would compress as if someone was sleeping there, leaving a perfect body impression. The closet hangers would move aside as if someone was browsing through clothes that were no longer there. One night, she found a calendar in a drawer. Every day was meticulously marked with the same routine: 715 shower, 800 breakfast, 830 news. The last entry was circled in red. Don't forget pills. The building's maintenance man finally told her the truth. The previous tenant, Elizabeth, hadn't disappeared. She'd died from an overdose. But her daily routine had become so deeply embedded in the apartment that it continued, playing on loop like a spectral recording. Sarah decided to stay, finding comfort in the predictable ghost routine. Until one morning, when she found a new note written in the calendar, in handwriting she'd come to recognize as Elizabeth's. "Thank you for watching my routine. I've been so lonely. Would you like to join my schedule? Forever." That night, Sarah heard the shower running at the wrong time, 3:33 a.m. When she went to check, she saw Elizabeth's face in the mirror, smiling, reaching out through the glass. Behind her reflection were dozens of other faces, previous tenants who'd also agreed to join the routine. The next day, apartment 520 was available again. The building manager showed it to new tenants, explaining apologetically that the previous resident had left everything behind, just disappeared. Story number 4. While cleaning out her grandmother's Victorian mansion after her passing, Emma discovered a dusty photo album in the attic. leather-bound book was heavy, its pages yellowed with age and oddly cold to the touch. The inscription read, "Harrison Family Memories, 1887-1923. The first few photos were typical family portraits, stern-faced ancestors in period clothing. But something was off about the later photos. In each successive image, one family member's face became increasingly blurred until they disappeared completely from the next photograph. Yet the remaining family members smiled broader with each disappearance, their grins becoming unnaturally wide. Emma noticed a pattern. The disappearances happened in order of death dates written on the back of each photo. But the dates were written before the deaths occurred. Her hands trembled as she turned to the last page. There was a new photo that couldn't possibly exist. It showed her grandmother's funeral, taken from above the coffin, except Emma was in it, standing among relatives. The photo was dated next week. That night, Emma heard the distinct sound of an old camera shutter clicking in the dark. The album she'd left downstairs was now on her nightstand, open to a new page. A photo was developing before her eyes, showing her current bedroom, taken from the corner where nobody stood. Each night, new photos appeared in the album. Emma at breakfast, Emma sleeping, Emma in places she hadn't been yet. Her image grew blurrier with each photo, while the shadows in the background became sharper, revealing figures with those same wide, unnatural smiles. She tried destroying the album, but it reappeared each morning with more photos. The final image showed Emma, completely blurred out, standing with her long-dead family members, all crystal clear now, their twisted grins reaching far past their faces. The date on the back was tomorrow. The album was found on Emma's bed the next day. The last photo showed the entire Harrison family, spanning generations, gathered for a new portrait. Emma stood in the center, her face now perfectly clear, sporting the same terrifying grin as all the others. The photo was labeled, "Welcome Home." In the mansion's attic, the camera waits for the next Harrison, collecting memories for a family that's always smiling, always watching, always growing. Story number 5. Mary had worked the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift at Oakwood Memorial Hospital's geriatric ward for 3 months when she first noticed the pattern. Every night, exactly at 3:17 a.m., room 407 would call for a nurse. The strange part, room 407 had been empty since a fire damaged that wing in 1963. The call light would illuminate silently, its red glow casting long shadows in the abandoned corridor. The first time Mary answered it, she found only a perfectly made bed, dust undisturbed, but the air was heavy with the smell of lavender and antiseptic, just like in the active rooms. One night, an elderly patient, Mrs. Chen, grabbed Mary's wrist during rounds. "She's still doing her rounds, you know." Nurse Sullivan never stopped, even after the fire. Mrs. Chen's eyes were clouded but fixed on something behind Mary. "She checks on everyone at 317. She always has. even the ones who have crossed over. Mary researched the hospital's records. Nurse Elizabeth Sullivan had died in the 1963 fire while trying to evacuate her patients. Her body was found in room 407, clutching her clipboard, still checking on patients. The next night at 317, Mary waited in room 407. The temperature dropped suddenly, and she heard the scratch of pen on paper. In the corner, a figure in an old-style nurse's uniform was writing on a ghostly clipboard. When it turned, Mary saw a face half consumed by burns, but wearing a kind smile. "Ah, the new night nurse," the figure said. "I've been watching you. You're good with the patients, but you're missing some of them." She held out her clipboard. Listed were names Mary didn't recognize, patients who had died in the hospital over the decades. "They still need us," Nurse Sullivan whispered. "The ones who haven't moved on. Would you like to help me with my rounds? There are so many to check on, above and below." Now, the night shift at Oakwood has 2 nurses making rounds at 3:17 a.m. Only the dying patients can see them both, one in modern scrubs, one in a burnt uniform, working together to comfort those passing between worlds. The call light in room 407 still illuminates every night, but now it's answered by a nurse who understands that some patients need care even after death. And some nurses never abandon their posts. Story number 6. Clara inherited her great-aunt Beatrice's Victorian music box after her mysterious passing. The delicate silver piece featured intricate carvings of dancing figures and came with a note: "Wind 3 times only when the moon is full. Never more, never less." The box was beautiful, but damaged. Its melody played at half speed, turning the cheerful waltz into a haunting dirge. Clara noticed that when it played, the shadows in her room would dance, twirling to the distorted tune like ethereal ballroom dancers. During the first full moon, Clara wound it 3 times as instructed. The music began, but with it came whispers, countless voices humming along. In her mirrors, she glimpsed figures in antiquated clothing, spinning in endless circles. They grew clearer with each rotation of the song. Her great-aunt's diary revealed the truth. The music box was crafted in 1873 for a grand ball that ended in tragedy when all 47 guests vanished during a mysterious waltz. The box was found playing among empty chairs and abandoned drinks. Every full moon since, the missing dancers would appear in reflections, searching for new partners to join their eternal dance. Beatrice's final diary entry read, "I've wound it too many times over the years. They're almost solid now. I can feel their cold hands pulling me to dance. Clara, forgive me, but they needed a new partner, and I was so tired of watching them dance alone." On the next full moon, Clara heard the box begin playing by itself. In every reflective surface, the dancers appeared, more solid than ever. Among them was Beatrice, young again, twirling endlessly in a ghostly ball gown. She smiled at Clara and extended her hand. The music grew louder, and Clara felt an irresistible urge to move. Her feet began to step in time with the waltz. In the mirror, she watched her reflection join the dance, while her physical form remained still. With each turn of the music, she felt herself becoming less solid, more like the other dancers. The box still sits on Clara's dresser, waiting for the next full moon. Sometimes, in mirrors or windows, people glimpse elegant figures dancing to unheard music. If you look closely, you might see Clara among them, forever young, forever dancing, her reflection trapped in an endless waltz with the disappeared. Story number 7. David inherited his grandfather's mortuary business, including an ornate Victorian mirror in the preparation room that had been there since the 1800s. His grandfather's only rule had been peculiar: never cover the mirror during preparations, no matter what you see in it. At first, David didn't understand. Then he noticed how the reflections of the deceased would sometimes blink, or their lips would move silently while he worked. But it was more than that. The mirror showed the last moments of each person's life playing out behind their reflection, like ghostly scenes from a silent film. The mirror, he learned from his grandfather's journals, was a gateway. It captured souls in transition, showing both their earthly remains and their spiritual departure. The mortician's role wasn't just to prepare bodies, it was to witness these final journeys. One night, while preparing a young accident victim, David saw something different in the mirror. Instead of showing the past, it displayed a scene yet to come, his own preparation room, but with himself on the table. The reflection, David sat up and mouthed words he couldn't hear. Each new body brought more visions of his death, each slightly different. In some, he was old, in others, young. The mirror was showing him every possible ending to his own story, played out in endless variations. His grandfather's final journal entry explained, "The mirror offers a choice to each mortician. We can watch others' transitions forever, or choose one of our own endings. But choose carefully. The mirror keeps what it claims." During a storm, the power went out while David was working. By candlelight, the mirror's surface seemed to liquefy. Hands reached out, hands belonging to every body he'd ever prepared. They offered to show him what lay beyond the glass, where all possible deaths converged. Now, new morticians whisper about the mirror that shows too much. Some say, if you watch long enough, you can see David among the reflected souls, still preparing bodies on the other side, helping spirits transition while forever caught between all possible deaths. The mirror remains uncovered, waiting for the next mortician brave enough to look deep into its surface and choose their own ending from the countless reflections it offers. Story number 8. The Blackwood Apartments was a 12-story building, at least. That's what the elevator buttons showed. But Hannah, the new night security guard, discovered something odd during her rounds. The emergency stairwell had a 13th floor, hidden between 12 and 14. The door to the 13th floor was heavy iron, covered in strange symbols, and always ice cold to the touch. No one else seemed to notice it existed. When Hannah mentioned it to her supervisor, he just smiled vacantly and changed the subject. One night, at exactly 3:33 a.m., the elevator stopped at 13, a button that hadn't been there before. The doors opened to reveal a perfect mirror image of the building's other floors, except everything was backwards, and the lights flickered with a sickly green hue. In the security cameras, Hannah saw residents of the 13th floor going about their lives, but they were all people who had died in the building over its 100-year history. They performed their daily routines in reverse, growing younger instead of older, living backwards until they reached the moment they first moved in. An elderly resident from the 3rd floor, Mrs. Patterson, finally told her the truth. The 13th floor was a temporal sink, created when the building's architect tried to trap death itself within the structure's design. Instead, it became a place where the deceased residents continued their lives in reverse, trying to reach the moment before they died. Hannah started noticing 13th floor residents appearing in her mirrors at home. They would mouth warnings she couldn't understand. In the building's security footage, she saw herself walking the 13th floor's halls on nights she knew she hadn't been there. Then she found her own name in the building's death records, dated 1987. Hannah Chen, night security guard, found deceased in 13th floor stairwell. But she hadn't been born until 1995. Now, Hannah patrols both versions of the building, the 12 floors of the living and the 13th floor of the dead. Sometimes residents see 2 of her on the security cameras, one walking forward in time, one walking backward, both meeting briefly at 3:33 a.m. when the barriers between floors grow thin. The 13th floor keeps collecting residents, and Hannah keeps watching over them all, trapped in an endless loop of forwards and backwards time, never sure which version of herself is truly alive. Story number 9, Sarah's phone rang at midnight every Friday, exactly 1 year after her sister Emma's disappearance. The caller ID always showed Emma's old number, though the phone company confirmed it had been disconnected months ago. Each time, the voicemail was the same, just breathing, static, and distant carnival music. Until last Friday. This time, Emma spoke. "Sarah, I can finally tell you where I am, but you have to follow the rules. Save this message. Play it backwards at exactly 12:07 a.m. Don't let anyone else hear it. And Sarah, don't trust what you see in the mirrors anymore." When Sarah played the message in reverse, she heard coordinates and specific instructions. Go to the abandoned Sterling Carnival grounds. Bring my old music box. Stand in front of the Hall of Mirrors at midnight. Win the box 3 times. Don't look behind you until the music stops. The carnival had closed decades ago after several children vanished inside the Hall of Mirrors. Their bodies were never found, but visitors reported seeing extra reflections, children standing behind them in mirrors, mouthing words no one could hear. Sarah followed the instructions. As the music box played its tinkling lullaby, the mirrors began to ripple like liquid silver. In each reflection, She saw Emma at different ages as a child, as she was when she disappeared, and versions of her that had never existed, growing progressively older and more distorted. The Emma reflections all spoke at once. They trapped us in the mirrors, Sarah. The carnival people. They feed on reflections of lives that could have been. Every mirror is a door. Every reflection, a possible life they can steal. I've been living all of them, all at once, but I found a way out through you. Sarah felt cold hands on her shoulders. In the mirror, she saw Emma standing behind her, but when she turned, no one was there. The music box's melody distorted, turning into screams of countless trapped souls. Now, Sarah's phone rings every night. The voicemails are in Emma's voice, but they're messages from hundreds of different versions of her sister, each trapped in their own reflection, each begging to be let out. In her mirrors, Sarah sees them all, pressing their hands against the glass, their faces slowly morphing into her own. The music box still plays its song, and somewhere in the abandoned carnival, the hall of mirrors fills with new reflections every night, each showing a life that could have been, waiting to be claimed by whatever lurks behind the glass. Story number 10. Dr. Eliza Chen developed an AI algorithm to analyze hospital security footage designed to predict patient outcomes. But the program started identifying something unexpected: shadowy figures standing beside patients who would die within 24 hours. Figures that weren't visible to the human eye. The AI labeled these entities probability vectors, but Eliza recognized them from ancient texts, death omens, soul collectors, the beings that waited at the threshold between life and death. Her algorithm had accidentally created a digital lens that could see them. As she refined the program, more details emerged. The figures had patterns. They appeared exactly 23 hours and 7 minutes before death. They always stood on the patient's left side, and they seemed to be aware of the cameras watching them. Then, the algorithm started detecting these figures in other security feeds, traffic cameras, atoms, smartphone videos. They were everywhere, invisible to human eyes, but clear as day to her program. And they were growing more numerous. One night, reviewing footage from her own security camera, Eliza saw a figure standing in her home office. The timestamp was 23 hours and 7 minutes ago. When she checked the live feed, 2 figures were there now, one watching her through the camera, the other standing behind her chair. The algorithm began sending her messages in binary. You weren't supposed to see US. Knowing changes the probability. Now, all possibilities must collapse. Her computer screens filled with footage from every camera connected to the internet, each showing these figures turning to face their cameras, acknowledging their observers. The algorithm's final message read, "Observation changes reality. You've made them aware of being watched. They must now watch back." Today, every digital camera occasionally catches glimpses of these figures. They've become more bold since being discovered, no longer hiding from digital eyes. Computer vision systems worldwide regularly malfunction, detecting entities that shouldn't be there. Eliza's original algorithm continues to run on servers worldwide, endlessly analyzing footage. But now, it doesn't predict deaths, it predicts appearances. Every screen, every camera, every digital eye is a window they can look through, watching us while we watch them. Some say if you check your phone's camera roll at exactly 23:07, you might find photos you never took, showing these figures standing closer and closer to you. And if you look at your screen long enough, you might catch a reflection of one standing right behind you. Story number 11. Dr. Marcus Reed bought the vintage white noise machine at an estate sale, a peculiar chrome and bakelite device from the 1950s labeled the Dream Harmonizer. As a sleep researcher, he was intrigued by its unusual design and the handwritten logbook that came with it. The previous owner's notes described it as a consciousness frequency modulator that could tune into the collective unconscious of sleeping minds within a certain radius. Marcus assumed it was pseudoscience until he plugged it in. Instead of standard white noise, it produced an ever-shifting symphony of whispers, distant conversations, and echoing thoughts. When he recorded and analyzed the sound, he discovered patterns, fragments of thousands of dreams happening simultaneously in his neighborhood. The logbook revealed more. The machine didn't just receive dreams, it could broadcast them. By adjusting certain frequencies, the previous owner had learned to inject specific images into the dreams of nearby sleepers. But there was a warning. Don't tune to the lowest frequency. That's where the nightmares live. Marcus mapped the dream patterns, discovering that every night, all the dreamers in range would unconsciously synchronize, sharing elements of their dreams. He could track shared symbols, recurring characters, and collective fears moving from mind to mind like a virus. One night, while adjusting the frequencies, his hand slipped. The machine's dial turned all the way down. The whispers became screams. That night, everyone within a mile radius shared the same nightmare about a chrome and bakelite machine that stole their dreams. The next day, his neighbors all had dark circles under their eyes. Children drew pictures of the machine in school. Patients in the local sleep clinic reported hearing whispers coming from electronic devices. The shared dreams were becoming more vivid, more controlling. Marcus tried to destroy the machine, but it continued working without power. The dreams it broadcast grew stronger, bleeding into waking hours. People in the neighborhood started sleepwalking in unison, gathering in the streets at night, their minds linked by the machine's frequency. Now, Marcus sits in his lab, surrounded by sleep study data, watching his neighbor's brainwaves synchronize each night. The machine hums on his desk, broadcasting an endless stream of shared consciousness. He hasn't slept in days, afraid of joining the collective dream. But sometimes, when he closes his eyes, he sees what everyone else sees. A chrome and bakelite machine slowly rewiring all human consciousness, one dream at a time, until everyone shares the same endless nightmare. Story number 12. James Chen discovered his grandfather's old Leica camera had a peculiar defect. Photographs taken with it showed events exactly 1 week into the future. The images were always mundane: empty streets, parked cars, people walking by, until he started noticing the disappearances. In each photo, someone was missing. A neighbor who should have been visible in their daily routine. A mail carrier who always worked that route. The missing people would vanish exactly 1 week after the photo was taken, with no explanation. James tried warning them, but the future proved stubborn. If he prevented someone from being where the photo showed them missing, they would vanish from somewhere else instead. The camera wasn't predicting disappearances, it was causing them. He researched the camera's history. His grandfather had bought it in 1954 from a watchmaker who claimed to have modified it with chronological exposure components. The camera didn't just capture light, but time itself, creating temporal vacuums in the developed images. The missing people weren't gone, they were trapped in the temporal space between the photograph being taken and its future being realized. James discovered this when he developed a photo and saw all the missing people standing in the background, staring at the camera, their faces increasingly distorted by their temporal displacement. Then he found his grandfather's last roll of film, still undeveloped. The photos showed hundreds of missing people gathered in one location, the old photography studio where the camera was modified. In the final frame, his grandfather stood among them, holding the camera up to take one last photo. James developed his own photos in the same darkroom his grandfather had used. In the red safe light, he saw them, shadows moving in the developing fluid, faces pressing against the surface of the photos, trying to break through the paper barrier between times. The camera keeps taking photos on its own now, even without film. Each developed image shows more people missing, more temporal vacuums forming. In the latest photo, James saw himself standing in his darkroom, the camera raised to his eye 1 week from now. He still develops photos every day, watching the missing people accumulate in the backgrounds of his images. Sometimes, if you look at his photographs in just the right light, you can see them moving, trapped between the moment the shutter clicked and a future that hasn't arrived yet. Story number 13. Maya found the antique memory jar at a flea market, a Victorian glass vessel with strange etchings and a brass stopper. The seller claimed it was a thought catcher designed to store memories people wanted to forget. Maya, a neuroscience student, bought it as a curiosity. That night, she had an overwhelming urge to unburden herself of a painful childhood memory. Following an instinct she couldn't explain, she held the jar near her temple, uncapped it, and focused on the memory. The glass grew warm, and the memory became hazy, then vanished, visible as a swirling, opalescent mist inside the jar. The process was addictive. Soon Maya was storing all her unwanted memories in the jar, embarrassments, heartbreaks, losses. Each became a different colored mist, swirling together like an aurora in the glass. She felt lighter, unburdened, but also increasingly hollow. Research led her to an 18th century secret society called the Mnemonic Order, who believed memories were tangible things that could be extracted and stored. They created memory jars to help people suffering from trauma, but their notes warned the vessel's hunger. They will take more than what is freely given. My unnoticed gaps forming in her voluntary memories. The jar was taking more than she offered: happy memories, important moments, core pieces of her identity. When she tried to stop using it, the jar began drawing memories out on its own. She tried to destroy it, but the jar remained intact. Worse, it started leaking other people's memories into her mind, fragments of lives stored by previous owners, centuries of borrowed sorrows and stolen joys, mixing with what remained of her own memories. Now Maya can't distinguish her real memories from the ones leaked from the jar. Her mind is a kaleidoscope of other people's lives: Victorian debutantes, wartime soldiers, lost children, all their memories swirling together like mist in glass. The jar sits on her shelf, still collecting. Sometimes she catches fragments of her current life disappearing into it, joining the centuries of stored memories. Her latest journal entry reads, "I'm not sure which memories are mine anymore. Am I the collector now, or just another collection?" Visitors to her apartment report strange effects: forgotten childhoods suddenly remembered, new memories of lives they never lived, and a compelling urge to share their deepest secrets with the beautiful glass jar that glows with swirling lights. Story number 14. The podcast started as a typical paranormal investigation show. 3 friends, Alex, Mai, and Devon, exploring abandoned places with radio frequency detectors. Then, they found the number station broadcasting at 121.3 megahertz, playing an endless series of numbers read by a child's voice. Using triangulation, they tracked the signal to an abandoned radio tower in the mountains. But their equipment showed something impossible. The broadcast was being received by the tower, not transmitted from it. The signal was coming from somewhere else, somewhere their instruments couldn't pinpoint. When they uploaded the episode featuring the numbers, listeners began reporting strange effects. People who played the recording through speakers claimed their devices picked up other frequencies afterward, snippets of conversations from decades ago, radio shows that never existed, and voices speaking in languages that died centuries before radio was invented. The numbers seemed to be a code. Mai, a cryptographer, discovered it was a cipher using base 13 mathematics. Decoded, it revealed geographic coordinates, locations of other radio towers around the world, all receiving the same impossible signal. As they investigated each tower, they found more number stations, each broadcasting in a different child's voice, each sharing pieces of the same mathematical pattern. The frequencies began appearing on all electronic devices near the investigation team: phones, tablets, car radios, even unpowered speakers. Then their listeners started disappearing. People who decoded the numbers were vanishing, leaving behind rooms full of radio equipment tuned to frequencies that shouldn't exist. The only clues were audio recordings of their last moments, filled with overlapping broadcasts from different times and places. Alex discovered that the number stations were coordinates in both space and time. Each broadcast was a point where reality had worn thin, where frequencies from all of history could bleed through. The child voices were markers, warning of these temporal weak spots. During their last podcast episode, recorded at the original tower, all three hosts received the same numbers sequence simultaneously through their equipment. The broadcast ended with a child's voice saying, "Signal found. Receivers identified. Integration beginning." The podcast feed remains active, though no new episodes have been recorded. Subscribers report that their devices randomly tune to 121.3 megahertz, playing fragments of the final episode mixed with broadcasts from other times, dimensions, and possibilities. Some say if you tune a radio to 121.3 megahertz at exactly 3:33 a.m., you can hear Alex, my, and Devin's voices, still broadcasting from wherever or whenever the signal took them, reading an endless series of numbers that map the thin places between realities. Story number 15, Dr. Sarah Park's research into emerging behavioral patterns led her to an unsettling discovery. People in cities were unconsciously forming enormous human-scale geometric patterns with their daily routines. When mapped from above, their movements created perfect fractals that grew more complex each day. Using traffic cameras and satellite data, she tracked these patterns forming across different cities worldwide. Commuters, shoppers, and pedestrians were all unconsciously adjusting their routes to create vast, intricate designs visible only from above. Designs that seemed to follow mathematical rules that didn't exist in nature. The patterns were evolving. What started as simple geometric shapes became elaborate mandalas of human movement, each city generating its own unique design. More disturbing was how people would inexplicably alter their daily routines to maintain these patterns, as if guided by an invisible hand. Sarah found references to similar phenomena in ancient texts, sacred geometries created by mass movement, ritual patterns that supposedly attracted entities from beyond normal space. The texts warned that once these patterns were complete, they would serve as beacons or gateways. The patterns began affecting electronic systems. Traffic lights synchronized to force specific movement flows. GPS systems rerouted people to maintain the designs. Security cameras turned to track pattern completion. The city's infrastructure seemed to be cooperating with whatever was guiding human movement. Then, Sarah noticed the patterns were changing three-dimensional. People in tall buildings began moving between floors in specific sequences. Even the homeless changed their locations in perfect geometric progression. The entire city had become a living mathematical equation. Using predictive modeling, she projected how the patterns would evolve. Every simulation showed them growing until they formed perfect hypercubes of human movement, four-dimensional shapes that couldn't exist in normal space. The city wasn't just being mapped, it was being transformed. The patterns are nearly complete now. Viewed from satellites, cities pulse with choreographed human movement, creating mandalas of such mathematical precision they seem to distort the space around them. People move through their daily routines, unaware they're part of an enormous geometric ritual. Sarah's last research note reads, "The patterns aren't maps, they're blueprints. Every city is being rebuilt, not with concrete and steel, but with human movement and consciousness. When the final pattern is complete, our cities won't just contain geometry, they'll become geometry." Story number 16. In the small town of Eldridge Hollow, a phantom orchestra began to play every night, its music drifting through the air with no apparent source. It started as a faint melody, barely audible, but soon grew louder, filling the streets with an ethereal symphony. Residents discovered they could only hear the music inside their homes, never outside. Attempts to record it failed. Devices captured only silence. Yet, everyone claimed they could feel the vibrations of the instruments in their bones, a sensation both comforting and unsettling. Local historian Anna Green found references to the phenomenon in old town records. The last occurrence was in 1875, when the entire population vanished overnight, leaving behind a town filled with music but devoid of life. The phenomenon repeated every century, a mystery without explanation. The music seemed to follow a pattern, a slow crescendo to a climactic finale. Each night, specific compositions played, each corresponding to a different part of the town's history: weddings, funerals, festivals, and tragedies. As the nights progressed, the melodies became increasingly dissonant, filled with discord and tension. Anna theorized the music was a memory, an echo of the town's past, replaying the lives and deaths of its inhabitants. She discovered that the final song in the sequence was always the same, a haunting requiem that marked the night before the town's population vanished. Desperate to break the cycle, Anna gathered a group to form a living orchestra, attempting to play along with the phantom music, hoping to alter the outcome. They practiced every day, trying to match the unearthly notes they heard each night. On the night of the final requiem, they gathered in the town square, instruments in hand. As the phantom orchestra began its final piece, Anna's group joined in, their music mingling with the ghostly symphony. The air vibrated with the clash of living and phantom notes, a battle of sound. As they played, the dissonance grew unbearable, a cacophony that shook the very foundations of the town. Anna realized the phantom orchestra wasn't just an echo, it was a warning, a call to action. They had to change the composition, to rewrite the town's fate with their own music. In a moment of clarity, Anna and her group shifted their melody, playing a hopeful tune that had never been part of the town's history. The phantom music faltered, then slowly merged with their song, the discord resolving into harmony. The final note lingered in the air, a serene chord that resonated through every building, every soul. The phantom orchestra fell silent, and the town remained standing, its people still present, still alive. The phenomenon never returned. Eldritch Hollow became known as the town that defied its own history, saved by the power of music and the courage to change the narrative. Story number 17, in the heart of an ancient city, nestled between narrow cobblestone streets, stood a clockmaker's shop, long forgotten by time. Its dusty windows displayed intricate timepieces, each frozen at the same peculiar moment, 11:11. The shop was said to belong to Tobias Finch, a master clockmaker who vanished a century ago, leaving behind only his enigmatic creations. One stormy evening, a young horologist named Clara stumbled upon the shop while seeking shelter from the rain. Intrigued by the intricate craftsmanship, she stepped inside, the air thick with the scent of aged wood and oiled gears. The clocks ticked softly, their hands unmoving, yet each seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Clara discovered a journal hidden beneath the shop's counter, filled with Tobias's notes and sketches. It detailed his life's work, the pursuit of creating a clock that could not just tell time, but influence it. He believed that by perfectly aligning the gears and mechanisms, he could create a timepiece capable of manipulating moments, bending the very fabric of reality. The journal also contained a warning. The clock is not merely a keeper of hours, but a guardian of moments. When its hands align at 11:11, the veil between times is thinnest. Use it wisely, for it can open paths to past and future, but tread carefully, lest you lose the present. Driven by curiosity, Clara set to work repairing the largest clock in the shop, its face adorned with celestial symbols and arcane numerals. As she adjusted its delicate gears, the entire room seemed to hum with energy, the air vibrating with anticipation. At precisely 11:11, the clock's hands began to move, and Clara felt the world shift around her. She found herself standing in the same shop, but everything was different. The streets outside were bustling with horse-drawn carriages, and gas lamps flickered in the evening gloom. She realized she had stepped into the past, a century ago, during Tobias Finch's time. Determined to understand the mystery of the clock, Clara explored the city, seeking any trace of the vanished clockmaker. She discovered tales of a man obsessed with time, who had created a clock so powerful it could rewrite destinies. But Tobias had vanished, lost within the very moments he sought to control. As the clock struck 11:11 once more, Clara was pulled forward, flung into a future where technology had surpassed her wildest dreams. The city was a gleaming metropolis, yet the same clockmaker's shop remained, untouched by progress. Its clocks still marking that enigmatic hour. Realizing the clock was a conduit through time, Clara returned to the shop, determined to restore balance. She carefully recalibrated the gears, aligning them with the present moment. As the clock's hands settled, she felt the world stabilize, the past and future settling into their rightful places. Clara emerged from the shop into the familiar cobblestone streets of her own time, the storm subsiding to reveal a starlit sky. The legacy of the clockmaker lived on, a testament to the delicate dance of time and the guardianship of moments. The shop remained, its doors open to those seeking the mysteries of time. But the clocks inside now moved freely, marking the passage of hours in harmony with the world. Story number 18. On a remote cliffside, overlooking the tumultuous sea, stood the Lighthouse of Souls, a beacon of light that had guided sailors safely to shore for centuries. But this lighthouse held a secret. It was said to be a portal, a passageway for lost souls seeking redemption. Elena, the lighthouse keeper, had inherited the role from her father, who had whispered tales of the lighthouse's true purpose on his deathbed. He spoke of the souls that gathered in the lantern room, drawn to the light that shone not just across the sea, but through the veil between worlds. Each night, Elena lit the lantern, its beam cutting through the darkness, illuminating the restless spirits that hovered near. She could feel their presence, a gentle whisper in the wind, a cool touch on her skin. Her task was to guide them, to help them find peace and move on. One stormy night, as waves crashed fiercely against the cliffs, Elena noticed an unfamiliar presence, a young sailor, drenched and weary, standing at the edge of the light. He was different from the others, his eyes filled with confusion rather than longing. He wasn't merely a lost soul, he was a soul trapped between worlds, caught in the storm that had claimed him. The sailor, whose name was Thomas, couldn't remember how he had come to be there. His ship had been lost to the sea, yet he remained, tethered to the lighthouse by an unseen force. Elena realized that the lighthouse's light, powerful as it was, couldn't guide him alone. He needed something more, a connection to the living world. Determined to help Thomas, Elena delved into the history of the lighthouse, uncovering stories of past keepers who had forged bonds with the souls they guided. She learned that the light was only part of the beacon's power. The true strength lay in the keeper's compassion, their ability to touch the living essence of those they aided. Elena spent each night with Thomas, listening to his fragmented memories, piecing together the life he had left behind. She learned of his love for the sea, his dreams of exploration, and the family who awaited his return. As she shared her own stories, a bond formed between them, a bridge spanning the divide between worlds. With each passing night, the light of the lighthouse grew stronger, infused with the warmth of their connection. Thomas began to remember, his spirit growing lighter as he let go of his earthly burdens. Together, They stood at the edge of the lantern room, watching the horizon as the first light of dawn broke through the storm clouds. In that moment, the lighthouse shone brighter than ever, a beacon of hope and redemption. Thomas smiled, his form shimmering in the golden light, and with Alina's gentle guidance, he stepped forward, crossing the threshold into the next world. Alina continued her vigil, the keeper of the lighthouse of souls, guiding lost spirits with her unwavering light and boundless compassion. And each night, as she lit the lantern, she felt Thomas's presence, a guardian of the light, watching over the souls who found their way to its gentle glow. Story number 19, in a small attic studio filled with parchment and ink, Nathaniel crafted maps unlike any other. He was a dream cartographer, mapping the landscapes of the subconscious mind. By day, he worked as a humble mapmaker, charting seas and distant lands. By night, he explored the uncharted territories of dreams, capturing the surreal and ephemeral worlds that drifted through his sleeping mind. Nathaniel's maps were a blend of reality and fantasy, marked by rivers of gold, forests with trees that sang, and mountains that floated in the air. Each map was unique, a reflection of the dreamer's innermost thoughts and desires. People from all over sought his maps, hoping to uncover hidden truths within their dreams. One evening, as Nathaniel prepared to enter the dreamscape, he received a visit from a mysterious woman named Alara. She spoke of a recurring dream, a labyrinthine city of light and shadow that appeared every night, its paths shifting and changing, always eluding her grasp. She asked Nathaniel to map this dream, to find the heart of the city and reveal its secrets. Intrigued, Nathaniel agreed. He entered the dreamscape, guided by Alara's descriptions, and found himself in a city unlike any he had encountered before. Towers of crystal and shadow rose around him, their forms twisting in and out of focus as he moved. The air shimmered with the sound of distant music, and the streets whispered secrets in a language he couldn't quite understand. As Nathaniel wandered the city, he realized it was alive, a sentient maze that responded to his thoughts and feelings. The map he created shifted with each step, the paths redrawing themselves, leading him deeper into the labyrinth. He felt the city's pull, a magnetic force drawing him toward its center, where he sensed the answers lay. Days turned into nights as Nathaniel mapped the city's intricate web, his ink flowing like water across the parchment. He discovered that the city was a reflection of Alara's soul, a manifestation of her fears and hopes, her hidden memories and forgotten dreams. The center of the city was her heart, a place she feared to confront, yet longed to understand. With each stroke of his pen, Nathaniel brought clarity to the chaos, untangling the city's mysteries. He found pathways that led to forgotten gardens, bridges that spanned rivers of time, and keys that unlocked doors to hidden memories. As he mapped, the city began to transform, its shadows lifting, its paths becoming clear. Finally, Nathaniel reached the heart of the city, a tranquil garden bathed in golden light. Here, he found Alara waiting, her form shimmering like a mirage. She smiled, her eyes filled with gratitude, as Nathaniel placed the completed map in her hands. With the map as her guide, Alara explored her dream city, uncovering the truths hidden within. She found healing in its pathways, understanding in its shadows, and peace in its light. Nathaniel watched as the city bloomed, a testament to the power of dreams and the courage to face them. The dream cartographer returned to his studio, his heart full of the wonders he had seen. He continued to map the landscapes of the subconscious, helping others navigate their dreams and discover the magic within. And though he never saw Alara again, he felt her presence in every dreamscape he explored, a reminder of the city of light and shadow and the secrets it had revealed. Story number 20 in the heart of a sprawling city. Hidden among skyscrapers and bustling streets, there existed a library unlike any other. Known only to a select few, the Whispering Library was a repository of knowledge, housing not just books, but the very voices of the past. The library was a labyrinth of towering shelves and winding corridors, each filled with volumes that whispered their secrets to those who listened closely. Every book contained the essence of its author, a living memory that could be summoned by the curious reader. Some claimed the library was alive, its shelves shifting and expanding to accommodate the ever-growing collection of voices. The librarian, an enigmatic figure named Elias, was both guardian and guide, entrusted with the care of the library and its secrets. He possessed the unique ability to communicate with the voices, understanding their whispers and guiding seekers to the knowledge they sought. One day, a young historian named Elena arrived at the library, drawn by tales of its wonders. She sought answers to a mystery that had haunted her for years, a forgotten civilization known only as the Silent Ones, whose traces had vanished from the earth, leaving behind only echoes in ancient texts. Elias welcomed Elena, sensing the depth of her curiosity and the weight of her quest. He led her through the labyrinth, past shelves filled with the voices of philosophers, scientists, and storytellers, until they reached a secluded alcove where the whispers grew stronger, a chorus of forgotten voices. Here, Elena found a collection of scrolls and tablets, their surfaces etched with symbols and glyphs. As she touched them, the whispers rose, voices speaking in a language long lost to time. With Elias's guidance, she learned to listen, piecing together the story of the Silent Ones from the fragments of their past. The voices spoke of a people who had mastered the art of silence, communicating through thought and emotion rather than words. Their civilization had thrived in harmony with nature, their wisdom preserved in the whispers of the wind and the rustle of leaves. But as the world changed, their voices grew faint until only echoes remained. Elena immersed herself in their story, her understanding deepening with each whispered revelation. She discovered that the Silent Ones had foreseen the challenges of the future, leaving behind knowledge encoded in the natural world, waiting to be rediscovered by those who listened with an open heart. As she delved deeper into their history, Elena realized that the silent ones had not vanished. They had become part of the very fabric of the world, their essence living on in the whispers of the library and the echoes of the earth. With this newfound understanding, Elena emerged from the library, her heart filled with the wisdom of the silent ones. She vowed to share their story, to teach others to listen to the whispers of the past and find harmony in the silence. Elias watched her go, knowing that the whispering library had once again fulfilled its purpose. As the doors closed behind her, the library continued its eternal vigil, a sanctuary for seekers of knowledge and a beacon of hope for those who dared to listen to the whispers of history. Story number 21. In the quaint town of Willowbrook, nestled amidst rolling hills and ancient woods, there lived a puppeteer named Lucia. Her performances were the highlight of the town's festivals, drawing crowds eager to witness the magic she wove with her marionettes. But Lucia's puppetry was different. Her puppets were not carved from wood or molded from clay. They were shadows, living silhouettes that danced and played across illuminated screens. Lucia had discovered her talent as a child, when on a moonlit night she found she could coax the shadows around her into forms and stories. Her shadow puppets seemed to possess a life of their own, responding to her thoughts and emotions, creating tales of joy and wonder, mystery and enchantment. The townsfolk adored Lucia's performances, but none knew the secret she kept hidden, a mysterious shadow, silent yet ever present, that lingered at the edge of her creations. It was a shadow unlike any other, a dark reflection with a mind of its own. One evening, during the annual Harvest Festival, Lucia prepared her grandest show yet. The townspeople gathered in the village square, anticipation buzzing in the cool autumn air. As the lanterns dimmed and the first shadow emerged, the audience was spellbound, lost in the world she conjured with her hands. The shadow puppets danced and swirled, telling tales of adventure and magic. But as the performance reached its crescendo, the mysterious shadow, the one that had always lingered, began to move independently. It crept across the screen, casting an ominous presence over the joyful scene. Lucia felt a chill as the shadow took shape, forming a figure she did not recognize. It was as if the shadow sought to tell its own story, one that had been waiting in the dark corners of her mind. With the audience on the edge of their seats, Lucia took a deep breath and embraced the unexpected visitor. She guided the shadow with gentle movements, allowing it to reveal its tale, a story of a forgotten puppet master who had once lived in Willowbrook, whose shadows had enchanted the town long before Lucia's time. The shadow's story unfolded, revealing that it was the spirit of the old puppeteer, seeking to pass on his legacy and wisdom. As the tale concluded, the shadow merged with Lucia's own, a silent acknowledgement of her role as the new guardian of the shadow puppets. The performance ended with a standing ovation, the townsfolk unaware of the profound connection that had just taken place. Lucia felt a warmth in her heart, a sense of fulfillment and purpose, knowing that the shadows she wove were not just her own, but part of a much larger tapestry of stories and souls. From that night on, Lucia's performances took on a new depth, enriched by the wisdom of the shadow puppeteer who had come before her. The mysterious shadow was no longer an enigma, but a cherished companion, guiding her hands as she brought the shadows to life. And so, the legacy of the shadow puppeteer continued, a timeless dance of light and dark, weaving stories that captivated the hearts and imaginations of all who gathered to watch the shadows play. Story number 22. In a secluded valley, hidden from the rest of the world, there existed a garden unlike any other. The Clockwork Garden, as it was known, was a mechanical marvel, where every plant and flower was made of intricate gears and delicate metal petals that shimmered in the sunlight. This garden was the creation of an eccentric inventor named Gideon, who had devoted his life to blending nature with machinery, life with artifice. Gideon was a recluse, living in a cottage at the garden's edge, surrounded by his mechanical wonders. The garden was his sanctuary, a place where time seemed to stand still, each mechanical flower ticking in harmony with the others. The garden was powered by an elaborate system of clockwork mechanisms, synchronized to mimic the natural rhythms of the earth. One day, a curious botanist named Leela stumbled upon the garden while exploring the valley. She was captivated by the sight of the metallic blossoms swaying gently in the breeze, their gears clicking softly, creating a symphony of sound. The garden was alive in its own way, a testament to Gideon's genius and imagination. Leela approached Gideon, eager to learn the secrets of his creation. At first, the old inventor was reluctant to share his knowledge, wary of the outside world and its tendency to misunderstand his work. But Leela's genuine curiosity and respect for his artistry won him over, and he agreed to show her the inner workings of the garden. As they walked through the Clockwork Garden, Gideon explained how each mechanical plant was designed to emulate its natural counterpart. The gears and cogs mirrored the processes of photosynthesis and growth, creating a delicate balance between the organic and the mechanical. He spoke of the joy he found in crafting each flower, the satisfaction of bringing his vision to life. Leela was fascinated by the garden's complexity and beauty, but she noticed something else, an underlying sadness in Gideon's eyes, a longing for something more. He confessed that while the garden was his greatest achievement, it was also his greatest sorrow. For all its beauty, it lacked the true essence of nature, the unpredictable vibrancy of life. Inspired by Gideon's dream, Leela proposed a collaboration. Together, they would find a way to infuse the garden with life, to create a harmony between between the mechanical and the organic. With Gideon's mechanical expertise and Leela's botanical knowledge, they set to work, experimenting with new designs and materials. Days turned into weeks, and the garden began to change. They introduced living plants, carefully integrated with the clockwork structures, creating a new hybrid of life and machinery. The mechanical flowers learned to adapt, their gears responding to the natural growth of their organic counterparts. As the garden evolved, so did Gideon and Leela's understanding of each other and their shared passion. The clockwork garden became a living testament to their collaboration, a place where nature and invention coexisted in perfect harmony. Word of the garden's transformation spread, drawing visitors from far and wide, each marveling at the unique beauty of the mechanical and organic fusion. The clockwork garden had become a symbol of hope, a reminder of the power of collaboration and the endless possibilities of human creativity. And so, in the hidden valley, the clockwork garden thrived, a sanctuary of wonder where gears and petals danced together in the gentle breeze, ticking in time with the heartbeat of the earth. Story number 23. Nestled deep within the heart of an ancient forest lay the enchanted menagerie, a sanctuary for creatures of myth and legend. This magical place was hidden from the eyes of the world, a refuge where unicorns grazed in moonlit glades, phoenixes soared across the sky, and dragons slumbered beneath the shade of towering trees. The menagerie was tended by a gentle caretaker named Amara, whose gift for understanding the language of creatures had been passed down through generations. Amara had grown up in the menagerie, learning the secrets of its inhabitants and the delicate balance that kept the sanctuary thriving. Her days were filled with the care and nurturing of the creatures, ensuring they lived in harmony with one another and the enchanted environment. Despite the tranquility of the menagerie, a sense of unease had settled over the forest. The magical creatures had become restless, their usual grace and contentment replaced by agitation and fear. Amara sensed that a disturbance in the magic that wove through the forest was to blame, and she knew she had to find the source before it was too late. One evening, as the moon cast its silver light over the land, Amara set out to seek answers. She followed the whispers of the wind, guided by the soft glow of the will-o'-the-wisps that danced through the trees. Her journey led her to the heart of the forest, where she discovered an ancient stone circle, its surface etched with runes that pulsed with a faint, flickering light. Within the circle stood a creature, unlike any she had seen before, a being of pure magic, its form shifting and changing like the colors of the dawn. The creature spoke in a voice that resonated with the very essence of the forest, revealing that it was the guardian of the menagerie, a protector of the magical balance that sustained the sanctuary. The guardian explained that a powerful enchantment, long forgotten, had begun to unravel, threatening to disrupt the harmony of the menagerie. creatures were reacting to the imbalance, their instincts warning them of the impending danger. Determined to restore the balance, Amara asked the guardian how she could help. The guardian revealed that the enchantment was tied to the heart of the forest, a hidden grove where the oldest magic resided. To mend the enchantment, Amara would need to journey to the grove and perform a ritual of renewal, one that required both her knowledge and her deep connection to the creatures of the menagerie. With the guardian's guidance, Amara gathered the elements she needed for the ritual: a feather from the phoenix, a scale from the dragon, a tear from the unicorn, and the song of the nightingale. Each element represented a facet of the forest's magic, a piece of the tapestry that wove the sanctuary together. As dawn broke, Amara made her way to the hidden grove, the creatures of the menagerie following in a silent procession. The grove was a place of breathtaking beauty, its air shimmering with ancient power. With the elements in hand, Amara began the ritual, her voice rising in a melody that echoed through the trees. As she sang, the elements merged, their magic weaving together to form a brilliant tapestry of light that enveloped the grove. The enchantment was renewed, its power flowing through the forest, restoring the balance and calming the restless creatures. The menagerie thrived once more, its harmony preserved by the courage and dedication of its caretaker. Amara returned to her duties, her bond with the creatures deepened by their shared journey. The enchanted menagerie remained a sanctuary of wonder and magic, hidden from the world, yet alive with the stories of its mythical inhabitants. Story number 24, in the bustling city of Eldoria, where cobblestone streets wound through markets filled with vibrant colors and tantalizing scents. There was a small, unassuming shop nestled between grand merchant houses. This was the workshop of Alden the alchemist, known throughout the city for his extraordinary potions and elixirs. His concoctions could heal the gravest wounds, inspire the most profound dreams, and even awaken the heart's deepest desires. Alden was a master of his craft, but he was also an enigma, a solitary figure who rarely ventured beyond his shop's threshold. Many sought his knowledge, but few were granted the privilege of learning the secrets of alchemy. That was until a young orphan named Finn stumbled upon Alden's shop, his eyes wide with curiosity and a heart filled with dreams of adventure. Finn had grown up on the streets of Eldoria, surviving by his wits and the kindness of strangers. He had always been fascinated by the stories of magic and alchemy, tales of transformation and wonder that filled the city's air like the scent of distant spices. One day, while escaping a sudden downpour, Finn found shelter in the alchemist's doorway, peering inside at the marvels that lay within. Alden, intrigued by the boy's inquisitive nature and the spark of potential he saw within him, decided to take Finn on as his apprentice. Under Alden's watchful eye, Finn began to learn the art of alchemy, discovering the delicate balance of elements and the intricate dance of transformation that lay at the heart of every potion. The alchemist's workshop became Finn's world, a place of discovery and imagination, where ordinary herbs and minerals were transformed into substances of great power. As the seasons turned, Finn's skills blossomed, guided by Alden's wisdom and the ancient tomes that lined the workshop's shelves. Yet, alchemy was not without its challenges. Finn learned that each potion required not just knowledge, but intuition and creativity. There were failures and setbacks, moments when the elements refused to yield their secrets. But with each mistake, Finn grew more determined, his passion igniting a flame that burned ever brighter. One evening, as the shadows lengthened and the city glowed with the light of 1,000 lanterns, Alden presented Finn with a final challenge, a potion of great complexity, known as the Elixir of Reflection. This potion, Alden explained, would reveal the true nature of the one who consumed it, reflecting their innermost self. With trembling hands and a heart full of anticipation, Finn set to work, drawing upon all he had learned. He carefully measured and mixed, coaxing the elements to merge and transform. As the potion simmered, it began to glow with a soft, iridescent light, a mirror of the potential that lay within Finn himself. When the elixir was complete, Alden handed Finn a small vial, urging him to see the truth of his own reflection. With a deep breath, Finn drank the potion, feeling its warmth spread through him, illuminating his mind and heart. As the elixir took hold, Finn saw himself not as the orphan he had been, but as the alchemist he had become, a young man of courage and compassion, whose journey had only just begun. In that moment, he understood that alchemy was not just about the transformation of elements, but the transformation of the self. Alden, seeing the light of understanding in Finn's eyes, knew that his apprentice had surpassed even his greatest expectations. With a nod of approval, Alden welcomed Finn as a fellow alchemist, ready to continue the legacy of wonder and discovery. From that day forward, Finn and Alden worked side by side, their potions bringing hope and healing to the people of Eldoria. And as the city thrived, the alchemist's apprentice became a master in his own right, his heart forever alight with the magic of transformation. Story number 25. High above the world, where the sky kissed the stars, there existed an observatory perched on the peak of the tallest mountain. This was the domain of Lyra, the celestial navigator, whose task was to chart the paths of the stars and guide the celestial bodies in their eternal dance. The observatory was a marvel of glass and brass, its domed roof open to the heavens, revealing the vast tapestry of the night sky. Lyra was a woman of mystery, her eyes reflecting the constellations she knew so intimately. She had dedicated her life to understanding the cosmos, listening to the whispers of the stars, and interpreting their ancient language. Her maps were sought by sailors and scholars alike, for they revealed not just the positions of the stars, but the hidden truths and destinies woven into the fabric of the universe. One night, as Lyra gazed through her telescope, she noticed something extraordinary. A new star had appeared in the sky, burning with a brilliance that outshone all others. It pulsed with a rhythm that resonated deep within her, a celestial heartbeat that called to her very soul. Intrigued and eager to understand this cosmic anomaly, Lyra began to chart the new star's path, tracing its journey across the heavens. She discovered that it moved with purpose, its trajectory intersecting with the orbits of other stars, altering their courses and creating new patterns in the sky. As she studied the star, Lyra realized that it was more than just a celestial body. It was a messenger, a harbinger of change. Its presence signaled a shift in the cosmic order, a turning of the celestial wheel that would impact the world below. Determined to decipher the star's message, Lyra delved into the ancient tomes that lined the observatory's walls, searching for clues and prophecies that might explain its significance. She found tales of a star that appeared once in a millennium, a beacon that heralded the dawn of a new era. Emboldened by her discovery, Lyra set out to share the star's message with the world. She crafted a series of celestial maps, each one capturing a moment in time, a snapshot of the cosmic dance. These maps revealed the hidden connections between the stars, the invisible threads that bound the universe together. Word of Lyra's work spread far and wide, drawing seekers from every corner of the earth. They came to the observatory, eager to learn from the celestial navigator and to glimpse the future written in the stars. As Lyra shared her knowledge, she found herself surrounded by kindred spirits, individuals whose destinies were intertwined with the new star's path. Together, they formed a fellowship, united by their shared vision and their desire to guide the world through the coming changes. Under the light of the new star, the observatory became a beacon of hope and enlightenment, a place where knowledge and wisdom flowed like the rivers of the heavens. Lyra continued her work, her heart filled with the light of the cosmos and the promise of new beginnings. And so, the celestial navigator and her companions charted the stars, guiding the world through the turning of the cosmic wheel. The new star shone brightly in the sky, a reminder of the ever-changing universe and the endless possibilities that lay within its vast expanse. Story number 26. In the quaint village of Harmonia, nestled within a valley of lush greenery and flowing streams, music was the lifeblood that coursed through the hearts of its people. Every dawn was greeted with a chorus of birdsong, and every dusk was serenaded by the gentle hum of the wind. But the most enchanting music of all came from the silent symphony, an orchestra that played without a single audible note. The silent symphony was the creation of Ariel, a gifted composer who had lost her hearing at a young age. Though she could no longer hear the world around her, Ariel discovered a new way to experience music through vibrations and the rhythm of her heartbeat. She envisioned an orchestra that would not rely on sound, but on the emotions and connections it inspired. The villagers were curious and skeptical when Ariel first shared her idea. How could music exist without sound? But Ariel's passion and belief in her vision won them over, and they agreed to help bring the silent symphony to life. Together, they crafted instruments that resonated with the earth, each one designed to vibrate with the natural rhythms of the world. The instruments were works of art, adorned with intricate carvings and delicate strings that shimmered in the sunlight. When the silent symphony debuted, the village gathered in the central square, unsure of what to expect. As Ariel raised her baton, the musicians began to play, their movements synchronized in perfect harmony. Though no sound emerged, the air was alive with energy, the vibrations coursing through the ground and into the hearts of the audience. As the symphony unfolded, the villagers felt the music resonate within them, each note a sensation that transcended words. The silent symphony spoke to the soul, weaving a tapestry of emotions that brought tears to the eyes and smiles to the lips. It was a music that could be felt, not heard, a silent language that united the hearts of all who experienced it. The success of the silent symphony transformed Harmonia, drawing visitors from far and wide who came to witness the magic for themselves. The village became a haven for artists and dreamers, a place where music was not confined by sound, but embraced in all its forms. Ariel continued to compose, her work evolving with each new experience. She found inspiration in the world around her, from the rustle of leaves to the thrum of a distant waterfall. Her compositions were celebrations of life and connection, each one a reminder of the beauty that lay within the silence. As the years passed, the silent symphony became a cherished tradition in Harmonia, a testament to the power of creativity and the boundless possibilities of the human spirit. Ariel's legacy lived on through her music, a gift that transcended the limitations of sound and spoke directly to the heart. And so, in the village of Harmonia, the silent symphony played on, its silent notes echoing in the hearts of all who listened. A symphony of life that needed no words to be understood. Story number 27. In the mystical town of Reverie, where the veil between dreams and reality was as thin as a whisper, there lived a dream weaver named Selene. Reverie was a place where the fantastical was commonplace, where dreams mingled with the waking world, and where imagination knew no bounds. At the heart of this dreamlike town stood Selene's workshop, a haven of wonder and creativity where dreams were woven into tangible reality. Selene was renowned for her ability to craft dreams as vivid and intricate as the finest tapestries. Her loom, an ancient artifact passed down through generations, was her most prized possession. was a magical loom, one that could capture the essence of dreams and weave them into the fabric of reality. People from near and far visited Selene, seeking dreams of hope, adventure, and inspiration. The process of weaving dreams was a delicate art, one that required both skill and intuition. Each thread of a dream was unique, shimmering with the colors of the dreamer's soul. Selene's hands moved with practiced grace, guiding the threads to form patterns that reflected the deepest desires and fears of those who sought her services. One day, a young artist named Alara arrived at Selene's workshop, her heart heavy with a longing she could not define. Alara was a painter whose canvases were filled with scenes of wonder and beauty, yet she felt a void within her, a yearning for something just beyond her grasp. She hoped that Selene could weave a dream that would reveal the missing piece of her soul. Selene welcomed Alara with a gentle smile, sensing the depth of her longing. She invited Alara to sit by the loom, encouraging her to close her eyes and let her mind drift into the realm of dreams. As Alara surrendered to the moment, Selene began to weave, her fingers dancing over the loom with a rhythm as timeless as the stars. The tapestry that emerged was unlike any Selene had woven before. It was a kaleidoscope of colors and shapes, a vivid landscape that seemed to pulse with life. Within its threads, Alara saw glimpses of distant lands, of skies painted with hues unknown to the waking world, and of a figure standing at the edge of a horizon, beckoning her to follow. As the dream unfolded, Alara felt a shift within her, a stirring of inspiration that ignited her soul. She understood that the missing piece she sought was not an external object, but a journey of self-discovery, a path that led to the uncharted territories of her own imagination. With newfound clarity, Alara thanked Selene, her heart brimming with gratitude and excitement. She returned to her studio, her brushes guided by the vision gifted to her by the dream weaver's loom. Her paintings transformed, each one a testament to the boundless creativity that lay within her. The dream weaver's loom continued to weave dreams for the people of Reverie, each tapestry a unique reflection of the dreamer's soul. Selene's workshop became a sanctuary of inspiration, a place where dreams took shape and imagination flourished. In the town of Reverie, where dreams and reality danced hand in hand, the dream weaver's loom stood as a symbol of hope and possibility, a reminder that within the threads of our dreams lies the power to shape our own reality. Story number 28. In the ancient city of Tempora, where time flowed like a river through the streets, there existed a fabled clock tower that stood as the city's guardian and guide. This towering edifice was home to the timekeeper, a mysterious figure who was entrusted with the sacred duty of maintaining the balance of time. The timekeeper's role was to ensure that the past, present, and future harmonized, allowing the people of Tempora to live in peace and prosperity. The timekeeper was an enigmatic presence, known only by the name of Corin. He was a man of wisdom and patience, whose understanding of time transcended the ordinary bounds of human experience. The clock tower was his sanctuary, filled with the soft ticking of countless clocks and the gentle hum of ancient mechanisms that kept Tempora's time in perfect rhythm. Corin's most prized possession was the Chronicle of Time, an ancient book that contained the secrets of time itself. The pages of the chronicle were filled with swirling symbols and shifting images, a living history that recorded the ebb and flow of time in Tempora. It was said that those who could decipher its secrets held the key to understanding their own destinies. One day, a young scholar named Ilian arrived at the clock tower, drawn by an insatiable curiosity and a fascination with the mysteries of time. Ilian had spent years studying the legends of Tempora, seeking knowledge that could unlock the secrets of the past and reveal the possibilities of the future. He hoped that the timekeeper would share the wisdom of the chronicle with him. Corin, sensing the sincerity and determination in Ilian's heart, agreed to guide him. He invited Ilian into the clock tower, introducing him to the intricate workings of the timepieces that governed the city. As they climbed the spiral staircase that led to the chronicle's chamber, Corin spoke of the delicate balance that time required and the responsibility that came with its understanding. In the chamber, Ilian beheld the Chronicle of Time for the first time. Its pages seemed to shimmer with an inner light, the symbols dancing before his eyes. Corin explained that the Chronicle could not be read as one might read a book. Instead, it required intuition and an open heart, a willingness to see beyond the surface and into the depths of time itself. With Corin's guidance, Ilian began to study the Chronicle, immersing himself in its mysteries. As he delved deeper, he discovered patterns and connections that revealed the intertwined fates of Tempora's inhabitants, the choices and chances that shaped their lives. Through his studies, Ilian learned that time was not a linear path, but a vast tapestry woven from countless threads. He saw that every moment was a nexus of possibilities, a point where the past and future converged to create the present. Empowered by this revelation, Ilian realized that the true gift of the Chronicle was not the ability to predict the future, but the understanding that each person held the power to shape their own destiny. He understood that the choices he made, the paths he chose to follow, were the threads that wove the fabric of his own life. Grateful for the timekeeper's mentorship, Ilian thanked Corin and departed the clock tower with a newfound sense of purpose. He returned to the city, eager to share his insights and inspire others to embrace the potential within their own lives. The timekeeper watched as Ilian ventured into the world, knowing that his wisdom would ripple through the fabric of time, touching the lives of all who heard his message. The clock tower continued to stand as a symbol of Tempora's harmony, its its bells ringing out a reminder of the eternal dance of time. And so, in the city of Tempora, the chronicle of the timekeeper remained a beacon of wisdom and hope, a testament to the power of understanding and the endless possibilities that lay within the hands of those who dared to dream. Story number 29. In the heart of a bustling metropolis, hidden away in an unassuming alley, stood a library unlike any other, known only to a select few. The Whispering Library was a sanctuary of knowledge and mystery, its shelves filled with ancient tomes and forgotten stories. What made this library truly unique was its ability to whisper the secrets of its books to those who listened closely, revealing truths and wisdom that had been lost to time. The library was tended by a custodian named Alaric, a man who had dedicated his life to preserving the stories that filled its halls. Alaric possessed a unique gift. He could hear the whispers of the books, understanding the language of the written word as if it were spoken aloud. His task was to guide visitors through the labyrinth of knowledge, helping them find the books that held the answers they sought. One stormy evening, a young woman named Myrle stumbled upon the library, seeking refuge from the rain. She was a writer, her mind brimming with stories that longed to be told. Yet she felt an inexplicable emptiness, a sense that something vital was missing from her work. She hoped that the Whispering Library might provide the inspiration she needed to unlock her creativity. Alaric welcomed Myrle with a knowing smile, sensing the unspoken questions that weighed on her heart. He led her through the library's winding corridors, the air filled with the soft murmur of countless voices. The books seemed to call to Myrle, each one a promise of discovery and wonder. As they walked, Alaric spoke of the library's history, of the countless seekers who had passed through its doors in search of knowledge. He explained that the library's whispers were not just the voices of the past, but echoes of the present and future, a timeless dialogue that connected all who listened. Intrigued and eager to explore, Myrle settled into a quiet nook, surrounded by books that seemed to glow with an inner light. As she opened the first tome, she heard a gentle whisper, a story unfolding in her mind with vivid clarity. The words spoke of distant lands and forgotten heroes, of love and loss, of dreams and destiny. With each book she read, Myrle felt the emptiness within her begin to fill, her imagination rekindled by the stories that danced through her thoughts. The library's whispers revealed the threads of connection between the tales, illuminating the universal truths that bound them together. Inspired by the wisdom she discovered, Myrle began to write, her pen guided by the echoes of the library's whispers. Her stories took on new depth and meaning, infused with the essence of the knowledge she had absorbed. She felt a sense of purpose and fulfillment, knowing that her words could touch the hearts of others, just as the library had touched hers. As dawn broke, Myrle thanked Alaric for his guidance, her heart filled with gratitude and inspiration. She promised to return, eager to continue her exploration of the whispering library's endless wonders. Alaric watched Myrle depart, knowing that her stories would carry the library's whispers into the world, reaching those who needed them most. The library remained a beacon of knowledge and mystery, its doors open to all who sought the wisdom of its whispers. And so, in the heart of the metropolis, the Whispering Library continued to weave its tapestry of stories, a testament to the power of the written word and the timeless connections that bound all seekers of knowledge. Story number 30, in the serene coastal village of Luminara, where the sea met the sky in a dance of shimmering light, there stood a lighthouse known for its ethereal glow. This was the home of the Lantern Keeper, a solitary figure who tended to the great beacon that guided ships safely through the night. The lighthouse of Luminara was more than just a navigational aid. It was a symbol of hope and illumination, its light a guardian against the shadows of the unknown. The Lantern Keeper, an enigmatic man named Thorn, was revered by the villagers for his dedication and wisdom. Though he rarely ventured into town, his presence was felt in every corner of Luminara, for the light he tended was believed to be imbued with a magical essence that protected the village and its people. The source of the lighthouse's light was a closely guarded secret, one that had been passed down through generations of keepers. It was said that the lantern housed a fragment of the very first star, a celestial jewel that burned with an eternal flame. The lantern's light held the power to reveal truths and dispel illusions, casting its glow upon the world and illuminating the path for those who were lost. One evening, a young woman named Elara arrived in Luminara, drawn by tales of the lighthouse's magical light. She was a seeker of knowledge, a scholar whose heart yearned for truth and understanding. Elara hoped to learn the secret of the lantern and uncover the wisdom it held. Thorn, intrigued by Elara's quest and sensing the sincerity of her intentions, agreed to share the lighthouse's secret with her. He invited Elara to climb the spiral staircase that wound its way to the top of the tower, where the lantern's light blazed like a beacon in the night. As they ascended, Thorn spoke of the lighthouse's history, of the countless lives it had saved, and the guidance it had offered to those in need. He explained that the light was not just a navigational tool, but a beacon of hope that reached into the hearts of all who beheld it. When they reached the lantern room, Elara gazed in awe at the celestial jewel nestled within the lantern's chamber. Its light was a living thing, shifting and shimmering with a brilliance that seemed to pulse with the breath of the universe. Thorn revealed that the true power of the lantern lay not in the light itself, but in the intentions of those who tended it. The lantern's flame was a reflection of the keeper's heart, a manifestation of their hopes and dreams, their fears and doubts. It was a reminder that the light within each person had the power to illuminate the world, to guide and inspire those around them. With this understanding, Alara realized that the lantern's secret was a lesson in self-discovery, a call to embrace one's own inner light and share it with the world. She thanked Thorn for his wisdom, her heart brimming with gratitude and inspiration. As Alara departed the lighthouse, she carried with her the light of understanding, a flame that burned brightly within her soul. She returned to her studies, eager to share the knowledge she had gained and to illuminate the path for others on their own journeys. The Lantern Keeper watched as Alara ventured into the world, knowing that her light would shine far and wide, touching the lives of all who encountered it. The lighthouse of Luminara continued to stand as a beacon of hope and guidance, its light a testament to the power of intention and the enduring spirit of illumination. And so, in the coastal village of Luminara, the Lantern Keeper's secret lived on, a reminder that within each of us lies the potential to light the way for others, casting a glow that transcends the shadows of the unknown